Of all the sounds in an Australian kitchen, there's one that's instantly recognizable. The metallic scrape of a spoon against the inside of a slightly dented green tin. In goes the spoon, out comes a heaping mound of a dark chocolatey malty powder that smells exactly like your childhood. That, right there, is the sound of Milo. If you grew up down under, Milo was a fundamental part of your existence. The question was never if you had Milo in the cupboard, but how you took it. Were you a cold milk purist, letting the crunchy bits float on top like a delicious chocolatey raft, or a hot Milo devotee, stirring it into a smooth, comforting winter warmer? Maybe you were a straight-up maniac who ate it directly from the tin with a spoon. Everyone had their perfect method, defended with the passion of a grand final footy fan. But how did this humble powder conquer a continent and become one of Australia's most iconic staples? And more importantly, what uncomfortable truths are hiding at the bottom of that famous green tin? Let's dial it back to the 1930s. Australia was deep in the grip of the Great Depression. Times were tough, families were struggling to put food on the table, and childhood malnutrition was a serious national concern. The country needed a solution that was cheap, nutritious, and crucially, something kids would actually want to eat. This is where a brilliant industrial chemist named Thomas Main steps into the picture. Working for Nestlé in Sydney, Main was handed a mission. He needed to create a fortified food supplement that could solve childhood malnutrition. He went to work, experimenting with a blend of locally sourced ingredients. He started with malted barley, added rich cocoa for that irresistible flavor, full cream milk powder for calcium and protein, and then supercharged it with essential vitamins and minerals. The result was a scientifically designed tonic food aimed at boosting the health of a generation of underfed kids. In 1934, at the prestigious Sydney Royal Easter Show, this new invention was unveiled to the Australian public for the very first time. It needed a name that screamed power, and Main found his inspiration in ancient history. He named it after Milo of Croton, a legendary Greek wrestler famed for his godlike strength, who supposedly built his physique by carrying a calf on his shoulders every day as it grew into a full-sized bull. Here was a product that was affordable, easy to make, packed with nutrients, and tasted amazing. Milo was a practical solution which quickly became a pantry staple. It was a reliable way to get some extra goodness into multiple kids without breaking the bank. Milo's true genius was in how it seamlessly wove itself into the fabric of everyday Australian life. It spread through routine. It was the warm mug your mum made you before bed. It was the icy, refreshing drink sold for a few cents at the school tuck shop on a scorching summer afternoon. It was the secret spoonful you'd sneak from the tin late at night, hoping no one would hear the clink of the spoon. By the 1950s, Milo was a household name, but it had also earned a reputation as the original energy drink. Not the jittery, caffeine-fueled stuff we have today, but the wholesome, go outside and play until the streetlights come on kind of energy. Its advertising through the 60s up to the 80s leaned heavily into this image. Milo became synonymous with active, healthy Aussie kids and was the official drink of backyard cricket, Saturday morning sports, and swimming carnivals. This connection to sport was solidified by the creation of the Milo cricket program, which gave kids their first taste of the game. The brand was everywhere, sponsoring everything from junior athletics to swimming clubs. The message was relentlessly positive and deeply ingrained. If you were an active kid running around, swimming laps, or kicking a footy, Milo was what you used to refuel. The brand never tried to be cool or trendy. It celebrated the ordinary, the suburban, the down-to-earth Aussie lifestyle. It felt like it belonged to us, even though it was owned by one of the biggest multinational corporations on the planet. And that's where the story takes a sharp, uncomfortable turn. Because while Milo was busy building a wholesome, beloved identity in Australia, its parent company, Nestlé, was building a very different kind of reputation on the world stage. Let's be blunt. Nestlé might be famous for Milo and Kit Kats in Australia, but globally, its name has been tied to some of the most shocking corporate scandals of the last century. The most infamous of these is the baby formula controversy that exploded in the 1970s. Nestlé began aggressively marketing its infant formula in developing nations, often using manipulative tactics like sending saleswomen dressed as nurses into hospitals to convince new mothers to use their product instead of breastfeeding. They promoted their formula as the modern, scientific, and superior choice. But in communities with limited access to clean water and sanitation, this was a death sentence. Mothers would mix the formula with contaminated water, leading to severe illness and diarrhea. Worse, because the formula was expensive, many families would try to stretch it out by diluting it, effectively starving their babies of vital nutrients. The consequences were devastating, resulting in the malnutrition of countless infants. This scandal triggered a massive international boycott of Nestlé products, a movement that, for many activists, continues to this day. Unfortunately, that was just the beginning. Over the decades, Nestlé has faced a barrage of other serious accusations. These include the use of child and slave labor in its cocoa supply chains in West Africa, the unethical and unsustainable privatization of public water sources in communities from Pakistan to North America, and numerous environmental violations. They've also been heavily criticized for making misleading health claims on their products, marketing high-sugar foods to children while branding them as healthy. In short, the Nestlé empire, which brings us so many products we love, has been built on a foundation of practices that are, quite frankly, morally indefensible. And so we arrive at the great Milo Paradox. Here you have a product that, in the Australian psyche, represents everything good and simple. It's nostalgia in a mug, it's local pride, it feels wholesome, unpretentious, and completely ours. Yet, it is inextricably linked to a global corporation with one of the most controversial histories in modern business. This fact makes a lot of Australians deeply uncomfortable. How can something that feels so right be connected to something so wrong? And yet, despite all this, Milo not only survives, but thrives. While countless other brands have come and gone, that green tin remains an unshakable fixture in Australian supermarkets. Milo has transcended being just a product. It's a cultural ritual, a source of comfort. You can leave Australia for 20 years, come back, and the moment you mix a glass, you're instantly transported back to your childhood kitchen, sitting at the bench while the afternoon cartoons hum in the background. A huge part of its staying power is its inherent customizability. There is no universally agreed upon correct way to make Milo. It invites and even encourages personalization. Some meticulously stir until every last grain is dissolved into a smooth, chocolatey liquid. Others barely stir at all, cultivating a thick, crunchy layer of powder on top. There are the hot Milo purists who insist it's a winter-only beverage, and the cold Milo loyalists who believe adding hot water is a cardinal sin. It's less of a recipe and more of a personality test. In recent years, Nestlé has attempted to modernize Milo in response to growing health consciousness. You can now find reduced sugar versions, plant-based options for the dairy-free crowd, and even protein-boosted Milo targeted at gym enthusiasts. But for most people, these are just side acts. The main event, the original full sugar classic in that iconic green tin, remains the undisputed champion. It continues to fly off the shelves, with new generations discovering it and older fans returning to for the comforting hit of pure nostalgia. And that's what makes the Milo story so utterly fascinating. It's a product that lives at the complex intersection of memory, culture, and corporate capitalism. It was born from a genuine need in a time of national hardship. It became a beloved symbol of Australian youth, sport, and home. And yet, it remains the property of a company whose actions often stand in stark opposition to those wholesome values. Some Australians choose to compartmentalize. The emotional bond is simply too strong to be broken by a corporate rap sheet. For them, Milo is Australian, full stop. Others have made a conscious choice to walk away, seeking out independent alternatives or trying to replicate the flavor at home. Still, every single time you peel back that foil lid, the smell hits you. It's memory in powdered form, and for all the corporate complexities, there's something undeniably, profoundly Australian in that simple moment. It's flawed, it's sweet, it's complicated, and it's still in your cupboard, waiting for you. But what do you think? What's your ultimate Milo ritual? Drop your method, your memories, and your hot takes in the comments below. We'd love to hear how you make yours. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into an Aussie icon, give this video a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and don't forget to ring the bell so you never miss out on more stories like this. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, stay curious.